Start.
Wonderful. Hey everyone, thank you for joining us on today's webinar on the importance of 5-star reviews and how to obtain them in 2020. We have a packed agenda for today, but before we get started, I want to quickly introduce myself. My name is Joanna Brooks and I'm the Director of Client Experience at Market My Market. I'm responsible for account management as well as the nurturing of our client accounts. We also have Ryan Klein on the webinar today. He's the managing partner of Market My Market, and he also loves review generation. Hey, Ryan.
Hey, how's it going? I certainly do. And yeah, we were talking before. We actually did this webinar several times. I'd say about 18 months ago. Had great turnout, helped a lot of people. Really enjoyed this process because we really believe in it, and it does work very well. And we wanted to bring it back just because of how important review generation is in light of COVID-19 and how consumer behavior has definitely changed quite a bit in the past 3 months. So happy to bring it back. It's a good one.
Me too. All right, so let's run through the agenda for today. We will cover topics including how important reviews have become and what consumers are doing to look up reviews, building your own effective review system with the right wording, execution, and follow-ups, responding to negative reviews, leveraging positive reviews for better online visibility and conversions. And then we'll save time at the end of the webinar to answer any questions that you might have. And if we are unable to answer all the questions during that time, please feel free to email us. We included our contact information on the first slide, and we'll also share it again at the end of the webinar. So let's get started.
So why reviews of all the things we can be talking about? So we started this because we know the importance of reviews is from consumer research. We know it affects SEO and being on maps. And the reason we're doing it again now is because we've consistently, over time, done a lot of feedback surveys and a lot of research out there to see how people perceive reviews, and especially if law firms have reviews and how important it is. And one of the things we've seen over time is that people are pretty much looking for you to have about like a 4.0 review average on Google, maybe some other places, expecting to have dozens they can go through. They can read the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the reason we brought it back is that you'll see in the preceding slides, we've done a lot of research, I think back in May, and you'll see that there's been kind of an explosion in the amount of reviews that people are expecting you to have. And it has a lot to do with people having more time on their hands, and they're being more meticulous with how they research because, if they're in a financial strain, they're going to make sure that they make the best decision with retaining a lawyer and other professional services.
Right. So yeah, like Ryan mentioned, we conducted a survey. It's a survey we actually conduct on a quarterly basis among about 500 respondents. And we want to share the insight that we gained with you. So the first question that we asked was, on a scale of 0 to 10, how important would it be to read reviews about a lawyer prior to contacting them? The average response that we received was 7.8. So as you can see, looking at the graph to the left, towards the end of 2019, people put the weight on an 8. It started to decline a little bit as we got into 2019, but right after that, it started to increase again. It's been following an upward trajectory ever since 2019, and it's just climbing and climbing. So we see that it's increasingly important for you to know that people are reading reviews about you before they contact you, and they place a high importance on that as well. The next question that we asked was, what is the minimum rating you would want to see for a lawyer on Google? The average response that we received to this question was a minimum rating of 3.98. So when we conducted this survey a couple months prior to May 2020, the average response we received was 3.9. So again, it's increasingly important for you to have all your review elements in check. So it's getting the minimum rating that people want to see is getting higher and higher. It used to be 3.98. Now it's getting closer to a 4. So we pretty much want to say that the minimum rating you want to see on your review listing is a 4. The next question was, what is the minimum number of reviews you'd like to see on a lawyer's Google My Business listing? Well, The minimum number is 45. And as you can see to the graph, on the graph on the right, that this number skyrocketed towards the beginning of 2020. It used to, average around 15 to 20 since the end of 2018 and also kind of throughout 2019. But once we hit 2020, really starting since March, it jumped up to 45 minimum reviews. So you really need to get working on increasing the number of your reviews on your Google My Business listing if the number you have is nowhere near 45.
Yeah, and a couple notes for that. Obviously, right there it says, March, it jumped up to 45. And I know some of our attendees here are going to say, well, I already have 45. I might have even 100 reviews. How does this affect me? It's still going to be a situation where if you're in the map pack and you have competition in your area, that's very proactive with review generation. If you have 100 and your competition has 150 or this law firm has 200, you still have to compete on that level, even though you are at that threshold that most markets would be fine. If you're in a competitive market, you still want to have a proactive plan of getting more reviews because like we're saying and everything that's going to lead into, reviews matter more than they ever have just because people are putting more of an emphasis on reviews than they ever have in the past.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a great point. You want to make sure you have more reviews than your competition has. That's very important.
Sure. So, we're kind of honing in on Google. We're talking about Google reviews mostly, and has a lot to do with how people search. So we do this survey very often, just as much as we do for just the reviews and how important they are for people. So still to this day, half of people say they would search Google. It's still the #1 search engine. It's still the #1 way people search for services and everything in between. So we're always going to be focused on Google because we know that's how people search, mobile, tablet, desktop, and we put an emphasis there. In some situations, they'll go elsewhere, like we mentioned here. They still verify law firms, unfortunately, on Yelp in some situations. About 1 to 4 people will do it. Yelp just to verify, what people are saying there as well. People look at Yelp as a reliable source. From a lot of our surveys, really Google is the #1 from both a reliability and legitimate standpoint, but they still will spend some time looking on Yelp just because the average person from our surveys spends about 30 minutes researching a lawyer before they contact them. So you see the 50% here on Google. You have a handful of people on Yelp. The other ways that people search for lawyers or actually find out about lawyers, kind of working in their own circles. So they'll ask their friends, they'll ask their families, they'll ask their colleagues and other professionals they know in their networks about a reliable lawyer. And another interesting thing I want to mention there that we don't have on the slide is actually that even when people do reach out into their circles and they ask their best friend or even someone that's like a relative, it could be even their spouse, about a lawyer or professional service, that person is very likely to still go out and research it, even though they got that referral from a close friend or family member. It's 80% of people will still do their due diligence with research, even if they get the referral from someone they trust.
That's right. And so I also want to emphasize that when marketing your legal practice, it's just really important to step outside of your comfort zone, because while you may think that sources like Avo may be the best source for you to be focusing your energy on, many other people look at other avenues when it comes to deciding whether they're going to choose you as their lawyer. So make sure that you don't put all your all your eggs in one bucket.
Yeah. So let's get on to actually accumulating more reviews. There's going to be 3 approaches that we talk about. They coincide with these 3 colorful doors here. And of course, the first way is of doing it yourself. And we're going to be talking about in the next slides, but there is a process you can set up yourself. You can utilize a third-party tool by yourself. So there are plenty of options out there. You might be aware of some. We're definitely going to elaborate on the ones that we've had success with, but they're tools that help you do it. And the third option, use that third-party tool, but also have an expert do it. So you can subscribe to one of them. They're relatively cheap, but an expert might be able to come in and help you because they already know, the best templates, the best approaches. They kind of take what they already know to the next level utilizing that tool. So we'll go into each one. Cool. How do we do it? So this is the DIY approach for you guys out there that enjoyed doing it from the ground up and learning it possibly the hard way, but truly understanding it. So the way that we do it is preparing a template with some graphics to make it appealing. So you can see to the right here, kind of a basic template, says how was your experience, some text, kind of overview of the purpose of the email. And then you can see here the graphic wise, there's kind of a nice link that goes to Google, a nice link that goes to Facebook. You can see at the bottom that there's a link in red. That's kind of a natural deterrent, I guess you could say, for any potential negative feedback. Because of course, if we're doing outreach, we are to an extent susceptible to negative feedback and possibly guiding people to a negative review. So in order to avoid that, of course, we want an option that they can contact us directly. That'll lead them to more of maybe a feedback form or a direct email. In addition to that, making the email appear more like a third-party inquiry. So you don't want it to necessarily come from the law firm at all times, and I want you to kind of think about that. If it comes from the law firm and a law firm email and someone working at the law firm, it seems more like a solicitation. So something we like to do or encourage to is pretty much come from like an unbiased third party. And one way you could do that is creating maybe like a Gmail account with maybe branded with your law firm, but say like client experience or client feedback. And that makes it seem more like unbiased opportunity for feedback or encourage a review as opposed to directly a solicitation from the law firm.
That's right. I'll take over the next two. Keeping track of emails that don't get opened or setting up automation for such emails. So you want to make your life as easy as possible. And in order to make sure that you're actually getting results and the work that you're doing is actually working, it's recommended that you use a platform such as MailChimp, which allows you to track whether people are clicking on the links in your email, whether they're even opening it in the first place. So we definitely recommend using a platform like that to take time off your hands and allow you to really gauge and measure how your email campaigns are working. To take it even one step further, we recommend integrating some automation, and there's third-party platforms that allow you to automate this process, because it's very important that you're following up with the people you send your review request to. A lot of the times you're not going to get the review the first time you set the email out. You might get it the second time or the third time, and you don't want to have to manually remember whether someone opened up that email the first time. Do you have to send it out again 2 days later? Did they open it that next time? Do I have to send it out again maybe 5? No, just automate that process. Use a resource like a third-party software that can just solve that problem for you. Keep the cycle going with, really without any interference on your end. So you can just do what you need to do, focus on your work. And then the next one would be maintaining a timeline for sending out follow-up emails. We're going to look at a timeline on the next slide, but just to preface that conversation, you want to make sure that you think out how you're going to be sending out these emails. You can't just be flooding people with emails all the time, because then you're going to like scare people away. They won't want anything to do with it. You have to drip the emails in a strategical way. And Ryan will go through that on the next slide, what our tried and true process is.
Yeah, unfortunately, our process is pretty straightforward. I think we like to call it the 5x5 method. And this is based off of trial and error, ways that we've approached doing our email timeline for several years. And it's, what you're looking at right here. You send out the first one. If they don't open or leave the review, 5 days, same thing, 5 days. And we'll do that cycle, after 5 emails. And at that point, if they haven't, responded or left a review, what would you say? We normally maybe give it maybe 4 to 6 weeks before we start it up again.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the reason we do this, and it seems like, wow, you're like really sending out 5, 10, 15 emails. At the end of the day, they know who you are. They worked with you. And we're never going to get a response that's spam. I don't think that we've ever gotten a response that's like, stop spamming me. They know where it's coming from. They know where you're at. So it's just a matter of, a lot of people aren't as proactive with email as we are, and especially lawyers are. Sometimes it does take 1, 2, 3 emails, and sometimes it takes 10 emails. But it's worked out for us in the past, and we do encourage this approach to the timeline.
Yeah. All right. So we have discussed how important reviews are for your customers, how customers are looking up reviews. Let's now touch base on the potential issues with review generation. So if you're wondering why your review initiatives might fail, it's probably because one of the reasons we're going to run through right now. I'll start with the first few, and I'll let Ryan go through the next. The first, the email template doesn't make it easy to link to places to review. We want life to be easy, not only for you, but for the people you're asking this of. So make the email template easy, straightforward, just like the template we shared with you on the previous slide. Make it easy for someone to click through to the review pop-up. You want the button to link to the pop-up where all they have to do is type in their comments and click the star rating. You don't want it to link to just the general overview review page, because then they still have to do another step and figure out where the click to review button is. So just make it easy for them. Next, no follow-up emails or text messages, no automation process to check back in with people who didn't check the review request email the first time. We touched base on this on one of the previous slides, how super important it is for you to have a follow-up process in place. You can make it much easier for yourself by automating that follow-up process. So once you have that in place, you will see your conversions increase a lot more than if you didn't have any follow-ups in place, because as we've been driving into you guys' mind, it's very important because people don't always do it the first time. A lot of the times you have a higher success rate the second, the third, or even the fifth time. I know, I think, Ryan, we have a statistic for Market My Market of how many emails we have to send out before we convert, right?
Oh yeah, I thought that was going to go alongside one of my points, but yeah, absolutely. We were talking about this before and we thought it was kind of funny just talking about follow-ups and how important it is. We'll have lawyers reach out, fill out the contact form, interested in a marketing consultation, and we have to follow up an average of 8 to 14 times. So we love lawyers. Obviously, we work with them for some time, but we got to follow up with you guys as many as 14 times sometimes. So it's the same thing with clients. It's no surprise that they don't respond the first couple of times.
That's right. And then the next one would be company emails that come off like solicitations rather than genuine emails on behalf of an unbiased third party. So this is all part of your client experience. You're following up because you want to know how you did so you can do even better for more clients to come. So make sure that that's being reflected when you're asking a review from someone. Don't make it look like all you care about is getting that star rating. You know, this is really about client experience. So make sure that the company email reflects that.
Great points. And then I'll stress it one more time. If there's anything that you take away from this whole presentation, is the follow-up process. I can't say it enough times, obviously. So moving along, poor email and template formatting. When you send out the email, it shouldn't be like a big block of text and Times New Roman. You know, you want to kind of like format it, make it easy to understand, easy links, just very clear what the purpose of the email is. The content of the email doesn't get to the point. So sometimes you're trying to preface an email. It's like, at Smith & Smith, we stand for the justice of this and this community. And I won't say it's like blah, 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 but really with these kinds of emails, you have to get to the point. Sending emails at the wrong time of the day, it seems like a no-brainer, but sometimes people just send it out if they're using, you know, a third-party email system and they don't really know how to configure it. You might be sending emails 3 in the morning or at 8 o'clock at night or on Saturdays and Sundays. So be conscientious of what time you're sending out the emails, what you think works. You know, what do you think? You know, based off your experience, you're the most likely to leave a review if someone emailed you. Emails that end up in spam folder. So this mostly happens when we have clients that get really excited about this process and they want to do it today. And they look at their database or Excel spreadsheet with all their former clientele, and there's 3,000 emails in there, and they want to just send them all at once. So 2 reasons you don't want to do that, of course, is spam. If you're sending out that many emails all at once from your email server when you really aren't sending that much on a daily basis, that's a red flag. You might have enough people that get it all at once, and they might mark it as spam. So you have to be you know, aware of that happening. And then lastly, you don't even want to send out that many emails at once. In our campaigns, we actually encourage people to kind of drip it over time. So if you have 100 emails and you're like, hey, I think that these people really will leave me a positive review, do 10 a week and then do 10 the next week. You know, do it slowly, because 1 or 2 will leave a review and it'll look, natural when you do it on Google and Facebook and Avo. And Google will know, if you get a review every 3 months and all of a sudden you have 8 in one day, I guarantee they're not going to stick. So that kind of goes with that as well. And then attempting to get reviews at the place of business. We've all been guilty of this one. I used to do this in-house, and I learned it the hard way, that, you have someone that comes in, they get their last disbursement check, or they're in, to know the status of their case. And then you have them in the office and it's like, hey, put them in front of a computer and an iPad and, create an account. to leave a review will be great. The issue is that Google logs the IPs, and they're going to know consistently that all your reviews are coming from one business location. They're also not going to stick. So it's something that I know a lot of people had the idea, and it was a great idea, but there's a reason it did not work.
All right, so all of this knowledge we're sharing with you, what results have we gained? Let's see. A 13% email conversion rate, with one client having a conversion rate as high as 38%. All right, so there is definitely some payoff when you put lots of time and effort into how you're going to present yourself when asking for a review. The average increase in reviews across all platforms averaged 69%, with one client having a 217% increase within just 2 months. So this really works. It really works really well for some people. So, you know, it should not be a barrier to entry for you guys, because when you use a system like this, you get great results in a short amount of time. Then lastly, over 3,000 reviews generated for our clients with an average rating of 4.6 for all clients. And this was way above the minimum rating that we mentioned in previous slides that you should strive for. That minimum rating was a 4.0. So we've achieved a 4.6 on average for all of our clients. So now these are results that we're very proud of, and we'd be happy to extend them to anyone else who's interested as well.
Yeah, a couple of notes for those too. The 13%, you know, might seem kind of like a low number. Like, hey, that's not that great. It's almost, you know, 1 out of 9 people. And this particular situation, it's, you know, law firms that have come to us that have tried everything they could to reach out to their former clientele. They've tried the in-house iPad, handing an iPad and creating a Gmail account. They've tried doing their follow-up emails. This is when we really used an automated system that works to convert 13% of people they didn't think they would ever convert. And then also that 217% increase, we're not talking like they went from 1 review to 3 reviews. We're talking about people that had 40 or 50 reviews went up to about 150, 160 reviews. So yeah, it's like I said, we're proud of it, or else we wouldn't be talking about it, right? So.
Right.
So one thing that we wanted to add to this webinar is that we didn't really talk about this several other times, but it's important to address because this is a question we get a lot. How do I respond to negative reviews? The short answer is you have to. It's just one of those things that no matter if it's true or if it's not, a lot of times we know it's not. Sometimes it's competition. Sometimes it's just, you know, unscrupulous SEO tactics, but it has to be addressed nevertheless. We did surveys that said, how important is it to address negative review? And it's, you know, 8 out of 10 people said absolutely. So it's just a part of, you know, running your business. You have to address it. So a couple, you know, facts that we got from that is that, of course, you have to address it, every single one. People naturally go to, you know, Google My Business and they'll look at reviews and they just gravitate to negative. I do that. I know a lot of people do that. They see tons of 5 stars. They want to see the 1 star. So once you're there, as far as responding to it, based off of our research, we asked, you know, should they apologize? Should be an explanation, acknowledge it, or invite them to have a conversation, you know, in their office or on the phone? And the majority of people said some sort of apology is by far the most important thing to do, with also some sort of explanation. So, you know, I have to say it's an opportunity, especially if it is a legitimate review, swallow the pride, you know, just deal with it. People respect you for it. Apologizing for the situation that may have occurred, and then some sort of explanation so anyone else that reads the review kind of has an idea in the context of how it arrived to a negative review.
All right. And then acknowledgement and invitation as well.
Yeah, there are also, you know, some situations, but they're not as important to the people that were doing the research as those first 2.
Yeah, very good. All right, so it's very important to respond to negative reviews, but it's also very important to leverage positive reviews. And there's several ways that you can do this. The first of which is you can add a review widget to your website to make a positive impact on website visitors. So when you use a third-party platform like the one that we use, you're able to add a little widget to the bottom of your website, maybe the bottom corner of the website right here, and it just slides through all the beautiful positive reviews that you have on Google and Avo, on Facebook, whatever the case may be. And what's really neat is that you can adjust the settings so it's only your positive reviews that are showing on your website. You can tell the platform, hey, I only want you to pull through reviews that are 4 stars and above, and that's it. So there's a lot of control there. And then there's additional widgets you can do where you can actually create a testimonial page. So it's like a full feed of your reviews. So people can literally scroll from page to page and read the full comments if they want to. So that's like a major benefit of using a third-party platform. You can also receive and unlock quality awards, accolades, and badges on different websites. So as you strive for a higher review rating, for more reviews, this unlocks rewards for you. And then you can share those on your website. You can include them in emails and newsletters out to your audience. It really just lifts up your reputation and just makes you look so good. Next, you can also use more positive reviews as testimonials on the website. We talked about that, but also marketing collateral. So you can use it on the website, but you can also add some of those reviews on, mailing stuff that you're sending out, postcards, whatever the case may be. There's just a plethora of ways that you can leverage these positive reviews. I'll let Ryan run through the next two, which are also, maybe some of the most important.
Yeah, I see more and more people posting positive reviews on their Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, putting together custom images and highlighting it, doing video testimonials. It's endless, the ideas you have for that. But also from an SEO standpoint, which is more my wheelhouse, I mean, more reviews, the more Google's really pulling in all the positive things people are saying. And these are things that just absolutely appear in search results. I mean, absolutely for your brand, branded terms for your law firm, but also anything related to your keywords. It's just going to put you in a positive position and more visibility based off the more and more reviews and positive testimonials you're getting. And then of course, there's a huge correlation between the amount of reviews and the quality of reviews of position on maps. And we know that local, that's a huge opportunity for law firms. Being a part of the map pack is some ways the biggest stream of qualified leads that a law firm can get. So there's definitely a correlation with having a number of reviews and also being positioned 1, 2, 3 on maps. So it's a part of any local optimization campaign that we have, and it's very important.
Mm-hmm. And I think one thing that I would also want to add that we didn't put on the slide was that there are, certain types of markups, schema markups that you can do. It's part of the SEO world. But what it really is that it dresses up the way your website shows up in search results. So if I did a search result for, say DUI lawyer and, Ryan Klein, attorney at law, showed up number 1, it wouldn't just be like plain text and, just the normal thing that you usually see. It'd have 5 stars under his name, 5-star rating, 112 reviews. So that's of course eye-catching, and that increases the click-through rate. So that's just another really cool thing too that you can use, you can leverage with third-party platform for positive reviews.
That's a great point. Ryan Klein, attorney at law. That sounds good. I went in the wrong field. I should have become a lawyer. But yeah, it's all good points. I mean, we're not even really talking or touching the surface really with SEO. We're talking about more from like a consumer standpoint, that people they're looking for reviews. They're making their decisions based on reviews. And it's just kind of a no-brainer, especially nowadays, that it has to be a part of any marketing mix.
Yeah. All right. Lots of good stuff. We thank you so much for joining us on our webinar today and listening to us talk about one of our favorite subjects on earth. Once again, I am Joanna Brooks, the Director of Client Experience. You also had Ryan Klein, Managing Partner of Market My Market. We'd like to open up the table for any questions that you guys might have at this time. And as we mentioned, if we can't answer all of them at once, feel free to follow up with us using the information that's on the screen right now. We have our phone number and our email address.
Sure. Do they use the Q&A or do they use the chat? It's been a bit, sorry guys.
Yeah, either or. You can use the Q&A or the chat. We'll see it pop up on either way.
Okay. Well, and then if we really covered everything review wise, and you don't really have any other questions or clarification there, we can also talk about how again, that's a funny question, I guess, but we can talk about SEO, we can talk about digital marketing. We also are a font of information when it comes to anything related to digital marketing. So, if you ever answered anything there or you want more elaboration, that's fine. But, we're here to answer all questions because, inherently it's our goal to, educate and assist law firms in growth and meet their marketing goals. So. Can I answer this?
No, you can't answer that. Someone wants to know how Ryan Klein is so handsome.
I haven't heard. The last time someone said that was my mom. So I appreciate that.
He's so handsome because he loves what he does. So when he loves what he does, it just permeates outwards.
Yeah, I'm just glowing, when I talk about this stuff.
All right, I have a question from Ramina Winton. Ramina wants to know, how soon should she send out a review request after a case closes? You want to send it out right away, Ramina. You want to get them while it's hot. So send out that review request right away. What we do, I have lawyers that send me requests literally as a case closes. One lawyer, he'll just copy me. He'll blind copy me in the email. So he'll be sending someone just a wrap up email. Oh, I just got out of court. This was the result, la, 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 la. And I just get those emails on a one-off basis. And I know this person needs to get a review request, and I shoot him out right away. And he has like an extremely high review rating. He's really happy with the service. He gets really great results. So if you can, get them out right away. But if not, it's okay to send them on a weekly basis, even on a monthly basis. I mean, if you did something well for someone, and you change their life, they're not going to forget that if you round back with them a month later or a couple of weeks later.
And you can see officially Joanna's been doing this for a while. Yeah, we've done it for quite a few law firms. And it's not always law firms that we work in continual basis as clients and do comprehensive campaigns. And sometimes people come to us to just fill that one gap. There are people that have already an SEO team they love, or SEM or digital marketing they have in-house. They have it all covered. They just want a really good review system. So, something to consider as well.
All right, we have another question from Noy Alexander. Noy Alexander wants to know, why is it important that emails be dripped, and why you can't send out a million emails at once? Because that's a red flag for Google. Google is smart. Google is intelligent. It knows that it's a red flag if all of a sudden you get a bunch of reviews at once. That can't be natural. Naturally, reviews come in, slowly, they get peppered in. So that's why we do it that way. We ideally will drip about 5 emails per day. And we've had success with that. So it's just very important, when you start, because a lot of people, when they start this initiative, they have a whole database full of past customers that they can send review requests to. And they'll send it to me. They'll send me a huge, long spreadsheet and be like, all right, let's get started. I'm ready to see my reviews come in. And I have to be like, oh, whoa. We're going to send five per day to make sure that we have the best success we can with this campaign.
Yeah, and another thing with that too, we know that it also varies based off like how old it is too. So there's some situations where we get the whole list. Some people on list, where the past they settled or they closed, or they, were able to resolve their issue with the lawyer in the past week or month. But then some of them go back to a year or 2, 3 years, and of course those ones are not going to be as responsive. So in some situations, 5 emails, you might get 4 people leave a review. It could be like 80%. Then you go back 2 years, and the 5 people, you get 0, 10, 20, then maybe 50, 1 out of 50. So it's kind of also, we have to gauge the responsiveness too, because if it's a situation where 5 emails and you get 4 respond, we're good. We're going to always do that way. But if you do 5 and they don't respond, then you up it to 10, 20. So we also have to be proactive within, kind of analyzing the responsiveness of the emails too, and determining how much to drip and how often.
Yeah, we'll take any other questions that anyone else has. I think we have a couple more minutes we can allocate to this. I think we have a couple more questions. Let's see. One came in through the chat box. Okay. How effective are the agencies? This is from Tina Moody. How effective are the agencies that provide the texting option like Podium versus an email campaign? So that's actually an option that we have as well. So you can send requests out by email, and you can send requests out by text. It really depends on what kind of business you are. So I've worked in the past with some dentists and periodontists, and they like to use the text messaging option instead of email, because they like to, as soon as they finish and, you know, the person gets out of the chair, they're like, oh, I hope you enjoyed your service or whatever. You know, we're going to text you the link so you can review us, you know, if you had a great experience. And so it's just a seamless process for them. You know, the people leave the the dental practice, they're driving home, and then they go and they leave their review. So they really like to do it like that. And a lot of times too, when you do a text email, it's like you just finished the appointment this time. So now it's not like you have a case that's closed. You just finished an appointment. And as soon as the appointment finishes, like clockwork, it's like, oh, thank you so much for visiting our business. Please leave a review, and you get that text message. So it really just depends on what kind of business you are, how you really want to do things. You can use both, and they're both very effective. They both lead to the same place.
Mm-hmm. Jen, would you say that you would encourage people to do both, or kind of just pick one of them?
I would probably just pick one of them, because you don't want to, you know, blow someone up. I don't want to like leave a business and get the request on my phone, and the next thing you know, I check my email and it's there as well. So it's just like, I know you want to review. In that case, it doesn't seem genuine anymore. That's like what we were telling you to avoid. We want it to be just like, you're just trying to follow up about the client experience. So I'm going to send you either this text or this email, just to see how it was.
I think in some campaigns I've ran in the past, I've started with email, and if I really didn't even see the opens, because you can see if someone opens it versus they didn't open it, and then if they open it, did they click on the link? So you can kind of see how they're engaging with the email. So if I have, you know, a campaign where I'm sending that to like a segment of people that never open it whatsoever, it's just like, they just don't use that email. I guess at that point, there's no way they've seen it, you know, 5 or 10 times. They just didn't open it once. So in that case, I would probably start to segment it, put it into another group, and then be like, okay, here are people that just never ever open their email. Let's think about SMS now for them and try to get them that way.
Yeah, that's a super good point. And you become illuminated to that kind of data when you use a platform, as we mentioned, like MailChimp, that provides that data for you. So you can see, oh, she hasn't opened up this email. Let me revert to text now.
And then as far as like DIY, if, you know, we're talking about MailChimp, it's really a go-to for automation and organizing emails and really creating a campaign if you want to do it yourself. I think as far as texting options, I think that Twilio/SendGrid would be probably a good option for wanting to do that segment. And then as far as, you know, these review generation platforms, these third parties, they all have some sort of SMS option at this point, because, you know, some people do prefer that method. So it'll adjust like maybe the scope of the campaign a little bit, but it's very inclusive at this point.
All right. Let's see if we have any other questions. Ryan, you see anything come through on your end?
Nope, just from our team. We don't answer their questions.
They should already know the answers.
That's a good point. Cool.
Well, all right, well, I think we've answered all the questions that have come through. If anyone has any other burning questions at any point in time, you know, feel free to just email us, give us a call. We're happy to chat. Yeah.
Absolutely. It was fun. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, guys. We'll be in touch.